the School of Engineering and Computer Science. And then we have Andrea and Bonnie from the School of Business. I know we have some business students here, so I wanted to call them out and thank them for being here. This is a joint event. We just thought it would be such a great opportunity for our students here in this building and our business students as well to hear from Brenda. I'm excited myself. I feel like I know a good amount about LinkedIn, but I have a feeling there's a lot more that I'm going to learn today, so I'm really excited to hear what she has to say. And then we actually have Ben. Some of you may know him. He's one of our electrical engineering students, and he's going to be sharing a little bit in the presentation today, so you'll get to kind of see hands-on what you could do as a student and how it might help you in your career search. So Brenda is of Brenda Meller Marketing, and I'm actually going to, she's the owner and marketing consultant at Meller Marketing. Right. Yeah, sorry about that, I misspoke. So I'm actually going to let you, Brenda, share a little bit about yourself, but we just want to thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate you taking time out to come and share with our students and our faculty and our staff. So
absolutely. Yep. And if I could ask for one favor, I didn't give a cup of water or something.
Oh, of course.
I'm at the tail end of a cold, so I'm going to apologize in advance. I don't get, that coughing fit sometimes at the tail end, so it should be good here. But hey, ladies, how are you? Some friends from the school here today. So Brenda Meller, I am so excited to be here today and to share with you some LinkedIn strategy tips on how to be more effective, to have a better profile, to have a better presence on LinkedIn wherever you're at, whether you're using LinkedIn now for your job or you plan on using it in the future, either to launch a job search, to make that stealth change from one employer to another, or just to position yourself in the best light throughout your career. So a little bit of background about me. I am an independent marketing consultant. I'm not affiliated with LinkedIn. I don't work for LinkedIn. I work for myself. Absolutely love it. I'm a lifelong marketer, and I've had a knack for social media and leaned into LinkedIn, if you will, as my preferred network. And now what I do through Meller Marketing is I help people and businesses with marketing and social media, and I specialize in LinkedIn. So I've used LinkedIn as a job seeker, I've used LinkedIn as a marketer working for an organization, and I've used it as an employer recruiting people. I've also used LinkedIn pretty heavily now for business development, for networking, and to maintain the presence I have on the network, and to continue to grow my business. So it's been a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. So one thing I always like to tell people before I get started is, in addition to my family and my job that I absolutely love my family, love my job, I also love coffee, pie, and chocolate. And the ladies that were with me this morning remember that everywhere I go now, I bring a pie to give away, okay? So what I have here is this cute little pie tin. I'm going to pass this around. If you'd like to be eligible to win the pie, just drop, if you have a business card, drop that in. If not, just a scrap of paper and just write your first and last name. And then at the end of my talk today, I have this neat little cherry pie that I'm going to give away. So it's kind of almost a personal size. You could share it if you want, but you can eat it all by yourself if you'd like. If you don't like pie, you can take it home, give it to a family member or a friend or classmates, bribe people with it, whatever you want to do. But it's a nice cherry pie. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this around, and then we'll do the drawing at the end. I might have Ben help me pull the winner at the end so I don't steer it in a direction. All right, and what I should mention is I'm going throughout today's presentation. I am super active on social media. If you guys want to take pictures of what I'm presenting, feel free. If you want to take pictures of me as I'm presenting, definitely feel free. That will help you. A little bit of a spoiler, that's going to be one of the tips I give you for today on building your personal brand. Every time you're sitting in a presentation room where there's somebody, a guest lecturer or speaker coming out, little hint, guest lecturers, we have large networks. Public speaking is what I do for part of my living, and a lot of other people as well. And we have large networks. So when you take pictures of people that are presenters and you tag them as you post them as a status update on LinkedIn, you're going to get the benefit of their large network seeing your post. So don't feel shy about taking pictures throughout. And what I do is I actually will take maybe a dozen or so pictures throughout, because then I'll sit at the end of the event and I'll look through my camera roll and I'll pick the best one. So I don't get that weird, eye thing or blinky or anything like that. So feel free to take pictures of me, especially pictures of the slides. And do keep in mind that I'll make a copy of these slides available to everybody. All I ask is that you connect with me on LinkedIn. And at the end of the presentation, just send me a message and say, hey, can you send me a copy of those slides? Because what I want to do is force you to use LinkedIn. I don't want you to rely on getting it from the school. I want you to go through LinkedIn to get you in the habit of using LinkedIn. Okay? So a little bit of what we'll be talking about, how to write invitations that get accepted, and to start building dialogue from the very first moment that you're connecting with people. I want to talk about ways to interact with individuals and companies on LinkedIn that will help to get you noticed now while you're in school and throughout your career. I'm going to talk about how to use LinkedIn as a college student to start building your brand today and using it throughout your career. And then techniques to demonstrate that you're a brand ambassador for your company, whether it's the company that you're working for now, or if you're thinking about going into stealth mode and finding another job and you want to do it on the slide without your employer knowing. Okay? So I'll show you some of those techniques. And then we'll talk about the difference between LinkedIn posts and LinkedIn articles and how to use each of those effectively. Time permitting, I'm going to go through some profile basics at the end as well. Does that sound good? Okay. So show of hands, how many people here are on LinkedIn already? Very good, just about everybody in the room. And I always have a few people that when they come to these presentations, they're not on LinkedIn yet, they don't have an account. Hopefully by the end, I'll have convinced you that you need to be on the network. And there may be a good portion of you that are on LinkedIn, but you're not using LinkedIn, right? You have an account, you're not really sure what to do with it, so it kind of sits on a shelf until you figure that out, right? So I want to help you figure that out and really use LinkedIn effectively. And I do want to mention today, I am doing a Facebook Live, hi to my community out there. This will be streamed onto the Meller Marketing Facebook page. If you'd like to watch a playback, it'll be posted on my page at the end of the presentation today. And then I'll also make that available on my YouTube, so if you want to share it with anyone else, feel free, okay? All right, so a little bit about me. My background, I talked about my loves. I also always like to tell people that I'm an introvert. And when people hear that, they're like, you're crazy, you're not an introvert, you're speaking in front of a group of people and you're not nervous. Well, what I found is that early on in my career, if I wanted to move up, I had to get over my fear of public speaking. I had to get comfortable with it. And the way I got that practice was through Toastmasters. Has anybody heard of Toastmasters? It's a public speaking group. My guess is you have a club that meets here on campus someplace. And I went through the program. It's all self-led. You sign up and give speeches. People evaluate you based on your speech performance. You'll learn techniques like how to be effective working the room, how to use your hands, how to use audio visual, how to eliminate those filler words, ahs, ums, ers, those filler words. And through practice, you get better. You build up your confidence and you learn from others. So an introvert is not a character flaw. That's just a characteristic of my personality. So what I've found is that anytime I have the chance to do public speaking, I do. When I'm asked, I raise my hand. So for all of you, I want to encourage you, as you're listening to lecturers and guest speakers like me today, think about what one question can you ask me at the end, and especially the introverts in the room. It's going to feel weird raising your hand and hearing your voice, but you'll feel less awkward and less weird over time, okay? And also, when you ask questions of your guests, it makes those that booked me feel really good because it shows that you're engaged. It also will help people like me remember you. You're going to be that one or two people from the audience that have engaged. Okay? So that's a little bit about me. LinkedIn is my heavy network, and pie is my thing, so we've got a little pie that's being given away here today. And if you are on social media, if you're active, if you want to live tweet or take pictures or post them, I've got a couple of handles and hashtags up there for you. All right, so I want to start with kind of the end in mind. So how do you know if the strategies I'm sharing with you are effective in building your LinkedIn profile and building your LinkedIn brand, are effective in bringing people to look at your LinkedIn profile? So if you have your laptop in front of you, I want you to go on your LinkedIn profile right now. And if you have your phone, you can even do this too. Go on your phone, on your LinkedIn profile, and right in the section of your profile, right below your summary statement, you're going to see this gray box. It's called your LinkedIn dashboard. I want you to look at your dashboard right now. Now, when you look at your dashboard, don't compare your numbers to mine. This is what I do for a living. My numbers should be a little bit higher than yours, okay? So don't freak out. But what I do want you to pay attention is kind of the three numbers that are in here. Oh, my little light's not working anymore. So the first number in here is who's viewed your profile. How many times have people looked at your profile in the past 90 days? So I want you to kind of watch that. In the next slide, I'm going to show you the trend line, and I want you to have you evaluate that a little bit. The second number is the last time you posted on LinkedIn, whether that was an article, a blog, or a LinkedIn status update. How many times has that been viewed? And that's going to vary based on time of day, how long ago it was, how well it resonated. But do pay attention to that. The third number is how many times have you come up in search appearances in the past week? As you start to build out your profile, optimize, adding in keywords, as you're posting status updates, connecting with the right people, you're going to come up in more searches on LinkedIn. So these numbers are a little bit of a gauge of your success. Anybody in the room familiar with your LinkedIn SSI, Social Selling Index? Anybody ever heard of that before? So I do have a hyperlink in the deck here. You can jot that down if you'd like to. MellerMarketing.com/my-LinkedIn-SSI. You can also just Google my LinkedIn SSI and it'll take you to the page to find the score. But basically what this is an index of 0 to 100, and LinkedIn will assess how effective are you at engaging with other people on LinkedIn. Essentially, how effective are you at social selling? So not selling, but social selling, connecting with the right people, starting conversations, engaging with your connections. So it's an index, 0 to 100. Anything really over 50, I think is good. So don't feel like 50 you're failing. 50 is pretty good. In order to get over 90, I have heard that you have to upgrade to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. My score is currently at an 84. I've been as high as an 86. When I work with clients, if they're just getting their profile set up, they start at 0 and they go quickly to 17. But again, this is just a measure of how effective are you at building your brand on LinkedIn, connecting with the right people, getting the right conversation starter. So for those people that are a little bit more advanced, I would definitely check out your LinkedIn Social Selling Index and just kind of watch how that number changes over time. Okay, so beginning with the end in mind, looking at these numbers long term, this is how you're going to evaluate your effectiveness. And guys that are in the back, there's some seats in the front row. I won't bite if you want to come up here. We got a free pie we're giving away too. So come on up, make yourself comfortable, grab your phone. You can bring your pizza up, I don't mind. Somebody wants to bring me, oh, there's water. There you go. So come on up, make yourself comfortable. I know how standing in the back is going to be a little awkward if you're there for a little while. All right, so what I just talked about in the previous slide was that very first number, who's viewed your profile. If you click on that, you should see a trend line that pops up. And this is a moving 90-day trend line. So what I like to look at is over time, how is that trending? Is it trending flat? Am I going down or am I trending up? I really like to keep my profile views maintaining flat or even going up over time. And I kind of imagine that imaginary trend line, kind of drawing that line going across. What I would say is don't worry about the valleys. Everybody's going to have dips that are happening. Focus on the peaks. What did you do that day when you had that peak? Did you post something that got a lot of network engagement? Did you put a comment on somebody's status update and that person had a lot of connections? Just figure out what did you do that day and try to focus in on those activities. Did you have a question?
Yeah. First, how did I get to the dashboard?
How do you get to the dashboard?
Yeah.
You have to be in LinkedIn on your profile.
Yeah.
It'll be on your profile right below the summary section and it should say your dashboard. If you're not seeing that, I can show you afterwards.
Sure.
Okay, all right, very good. So just kind of watching that over time. So before I go a little bit deeper, I'd like to get maybe 2 to 3 volunteers. I'd just like to hear a little bit about you. So if I could get a couple volunteers, your name, what you're hoping to learn here today, your dream job or your current job if you're in your dream job already, and then tell me your favorite kind of pie. So can I get a couple volunteers? Anybody? I'll pick on somebody who will volunteers. All right, how about you?
Hi, my name is Andrew Dimmer. I'm hoping to learn how to do posts and articles today. Because
Okay.
So far I've only been using LinkedIn as a way to connect with people and not engaging on it.
Great.
My dream job, ideally I'd like to be a software engineer.
Excellent.
And then my favorite type of pie is blueberry.
Blueberry is a solid choice. I always like hearing too because I get ideas on what kind of pie should I get. Very good. Thank you so much. That wasn't too bad, was it? Good. All right. Any other volunteers? How about from this side of the room? I'll wait. Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Cody Bay. I'm hoping to learn a little bit about LinkedIn, just try to, expand my knowledge, hopefully be able to use it for future employment.
Okay.
My future dream job, I'd probably like to be a software engineer and a computer science major.
Great.
And my favorite type of pie is apple.
Apple's a salad pie. All American pie. All right. So we heard from 2 gentlemen. How about one of the ladies here in the room? I'll wait. Yes.
I'm Jane, I'm the Dean's Assistant for the Engineering School. I have LinkedIn plus the one for the Engineering School.
Okay.
When I see all the things that you do, so that we can promote things that happen in the school. Plus, personally, I like to fill it in so it shows what I'm capable of doing because I've never been able to address it.
Okay, very good. So one thing to keep in mind too is, I always say when you're building your profile, write your profile with your ideal target audience in mind, whether that is a prospective student or a prospective employer or a client or whatever that is, write your profile with that person in mind. And even what I like to do throughout my profile, and feel free to look at my profile, look at it as often as you'd like. I never get creeped out when I see people looking at my profile multiple times. I'm actually happy because I know they're doing their homework. They're going on my profile and they're working on their profile rewrite. So if you look at my profile, you're going to notice in my summary section, as well as in my experience sections for each of my employers, everything is written in the first person. Because LinkedIn is you talking to your ideal target audience. It's not the same thing as your resume. It should actually be different than your resume, because the goal of your resume is to get you a job. LinkedIn is a professional networking site with some job search applications, but it is not a resume. And to that extent too, I would also not advise you to post your resume anywhere on your LinkedIn. The reason being, I like to know who has a copy of my resume, and also keep in mind a lot of times our resume contains personal information, home mailing address, etc. So you want to know who has access to that. So don't post it as a status update, only share that in job applications. All right, so some LinkedIn reminders as we get started. If you're working for an employer, I always want to advise you first to know what is their social media policy with regards to how can you be using LinkedIn and what shouldn't you be posting on LinkedIn. A good rule of thumb is if it's not public, don't post it. And when in doubt, don't post it. Check with your marketing department or your manager. So good rule of thumb there. LinkedIn will change, and it will change time and time again. I'm a heavier user of LinkedIn, so my view of LinkedIn may look a little bit different than your view. Know that things will eventually catch up, but what I'm showing you here on screen might look a little different than your view. Everybody does have a different comfort level. You might say, gosh, I don't want to be out there every day talking about what I'm working on. That's okay, this is what I do for a living, but figure out for yourself how to make LinkedIn work for you. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day, so I don't spend 24 hours a day on LinkedIn. I am very strategic about the time that I spend on LinkedIn, and I'm going to show you some of those techniques so that you can be strategic in your time. But I would say at minimum, you should try to strive for 15 minutes a day, every day on LinkedIn. That's easy to do, guys. Rather than go on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram first thing in the morning when you roll out of bed, pull up your LinkedIn and spend 15 minutes and then you've got it knocked out. Spend that time on your homepage feed, network engagement, and you'll be already on the way to being more of an improved LinkedIn user. All right, so I'm going to start with some techniques on building invitations on LinkedIn. And if you have your phone with you, I want you to follow along with me here today. And I love, kind of showcasing this because I think this illustration, this photograph rather, does a great job of illustrating a proper technique for a LinkedIn invitation. So he has all of the elements of the networking success. He has a polite greeting. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. He gives his name. He gives a relevant personal link, you killed my father, and he's managing expectations, prepare to die. Now, you're not going to tell people in your LinkedIn invitation, prepare to die, but he does include the elements that make it relevant, and that is making it all about them, making the connection with that individual. So what I would recommend that you do, and if you want to follow along with me here, if you have your desktop, you can search for my name in the search at the top to get to my profile. You can also do this from your phone. If you're already connected with me, turn to your right or left and then try to connect with somebody else here in the room. And what I don't want you to do is if you're in mobile, do not click on this invitation icon. If you do, it sends it off to them and you don't get the opportunity to personalize. Same thing on desktop, if you click here, it sends the invitation off and you can't personalize. From this moment forward, I would highly advise you personalize every invitation you send. So I'm going to use this example here. I'm on Liana's profile. This is desktop first, so for mobile people, give me just a second and I'll show you that technique. On desktop, I'm going to click on connect. And then I'm going to click on add a note. And the formula I like to use, just like Inigo Montoya, I like to say hi, first name, have we met or not? Give them that relevant personal link. If we have met, I remind them where. If not, then I might tell them one or two things that I see on their profile that are interesting or that we have in common. I'm making it all about them. And then I ask for the connection. So it might go something like this. Hi, Liana. We haven't met, but I see that we're both passionate about helping others use LinkedIn. Let's connect on LinkedIn, Brenda Meller. Or if we have met, I might say something like this. Hi, Brenda. You presented today at Oakland University. You were a phenomenal speaker, PH. Thank you to Oakland University, Kathy and team and Kelly for setting this up today. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Something that's about the person. Your goal is to get that invitation accepted. The goal is not to ask them for a job, even if you want a job, or to ask them for an informational interview or anything. It's just to get that invitation accepted. So for those of you that are on mobile, you can follow along with me. You go on my profile, click on the More button, or it might have 3 dots next to it, okay? When you click on that 3 dots, a menu is going to pop up, and a couple different options there, one of them being personalized invite, okay? So again, hi Brenda, you presented today at Oakland University, let's connect on LinkedIn. As simple as that, okay? So that's how you do the personalized invitation, and then from there, once they accept that invitation, and I guarantee you're going to get a higher acceptance rate when you personalize. Once they accept it, then you can continue on, and whatever the second message is related to that ask or what you're looking for. You could say, thanks Brenda for accepting my invitation. I'm an engineering student here at Oakland University. I see you work in the engineering field. You also graduated from OU. Was wondering if you might be open to an informational interview by phone sometime. Okay, then I've got a conversation going back and forth, and we can see where things go from there. All right, now what about those invitations that you guys receive that you don't know who they are? What do you do with those invitations? What do you guys do with those? Anybody? Ignore them? Okay, anybody else? Everybody ignores them? Yep.
I usually check their profile, and if they're in an industry that I'm either in or looking to enter, then I accept them, but otherwise I just look and see.
So if they seem relevant in your industry, accept them. And there was another hand in the back?
I guess I'll just be opposed to them and just accept them all.
Accept them all. Okay, so there's a couple schools of thoughts there, and there's no right or wrong way. What I will share with you is a technique that I use that helps you to create some dialogue. So you can only do this in the desktop version. You can't do this on your phone, but if you have your laptop, follow along with me. Click on your My Network icon at the top, and then underneath you're going to see a little link that says Manage All. When you click on Manage All, now you have the ability under each connection that you can send them a message. So I have a short version and a long version, and I know there's a handful of you that send me invitations before today's presentation. If you didn't personalize, you got my long version. Is there anybody in the room that got that? Okay, a couple people. All right. So my short version would be, hi, Brendan, thanks for the invitation. Have we met? Brenda Meller. That's my short version. And essentially what that does is I'm trying to screen them in and create dialogue. It's more polite than saying, hey, Brendan, who the heck are you, and why did you send me a LinkedIn invitation? Which is really what we're trying to get at. Now, I know we haven't met, he knows we haven't met, but it's more polite than saying, hey, who the heck are you, right? So what will happen here is the people that intended to connect with you, meaning they came to your profile, they saw your name somewhere, and they wanted to connect with you, they will reply back. They will say, hi Brenda, we haven't met yet, but I hear you're going to be the guest presenter at OU this week, and I'm going to be in the room. Or they may say, we haven't met, but I saw your name coming up in a status update talking about LinkedIn. My company needs to hire a LinkedIn trainer, can you help? Or they might say, LinkedIn suggested you connect with me, I looked at your profile, it looked interesting. I don't care what it is, the fact that they are replying back, I've got some dialogue going back and forth. I'm breaking myself apart from the clutter of all those other invitations they are receiving, and I've got a conversation starter going back and forth. And then I keep the dialogue going based on whatever they say in their response. Then I will accept them. I'll give it about a month. If I don't hear back, then I look at their profile and try to figure out would they be a good connection for me. Or then I might look to see, are we in a common industry? Might this be a good client or a referral opportunity for me? But what I find is this is really effective in creating some new dialogue. And you never know when that next connection could be a referral for you in the future. So my personal school of thought is I like to accept everyone in, but with dialogue. The only people I don't accept in are those people that right away come back with a sales pitch. Hey, let's sit down and grab you a cup of coffee, and I want to send you leads and referrals, and you can send them back. I mean, if they're just going right for the jugular right away, I don't need to connect with them. I want to connect with people who are going to play nice on LinkedIn. Okay? But other than that, I pretty much will accept those invitations. Does that help? Has anybody ever tried this before? No? So a new technique. All right, so now let's talk about a little bit about getting noticed on LinkedIn and really doing that by interacting more with your network. So a couple different ways that you can engage with people and build up some of that visibility for yourself on LinkedIn. One would be if you are targeting certain companies for your job search, and you might have a short list of those companies, make sure you're following their company pages on LinkedIn. Okay? Because when you follow their company pages, you'll start to see company updates in your homepage feed, and then you can like and comment on them, make yourself become a familiar sounding name, and you never know when there might be an interview and they say, yeah, that Brenda, she's always posting on our page. It seems like she really is interacting with us a lot. You never know. Another thing you can do, and I'll show you how to do this in a second, is interact with the company's employees, either current or former employees. So become familiar within the pool of people that currently work there, and you never know when one of them might be able to pull you into the company for an interview type of situation or a job opening. And I've even used this technique too when I say former. Sometimes if I'm targeting, when I was working for employers, when I was targeting a company for a job search, I would try to connect with as many people who were current company employees, but I would also try to find a few people who had left the company and then reach out to them and try to request an informational interview, because those people will be more candid in what they loved about the company, what they didn't like about the company, what the culture's like there, because they have no vested interest anymore. They've gone on. And I heard really great stories, and I heard some stories that made me not want to work for the company going through that technique. So it's a little bit of a interesting technique to try. With and about a company. So as you start following company pages, like I said earlier, engage with their posts. Whether you are liking them, commenting on them, maybe you're talking about them, sharing them in a status update, using their hashtags, or even tagging the company as well. Interact with rockstars. I'm going to show you this technique in a second here. And what I'm referring to here is people who have large followings on LinkedIn. It's really a numbers game. If you interact with somebody who has 1 million followers, you have a higher likelihood that people are going to look at your profile than if you interact with somebody who has 50 followers, because their network sees that interaction. I'm going to show you a chart I created in just a second here. And then check your fishing nets and then invite to connect. So the whole concept of fishermen, they throw out nets, and at the end of the day, they pull the nets up and they see what fish they've caught. So you, as a member of LinkedIn, when you are putting out status updates, when you are interacting with comments on company pages, you're essentially throwing out a net and seeing who's going to interact with you. And then if you do get interaction, you can invite those people to connect with you. Okay? So I'm going to walk through each of these areas here now. So starting with, I'm just going to use Oakland University as an example here. And did you say you have a page for the engineering school here as well? So I'm using the university, but I would encourage you to follow both the university page and then the engineering school page as well. So clicking on the follow button there. Engage with their content, see what's going on in here. That would help you out, right? If you got 30 or 40 students liking, commenting, sharing with their network, it shows that you're a really good brand ambassador when you promote your school. So that's a really good thing. And then you can see on here, it's showing if you're connected to anybody at the company, you can click to see who those people are. And then it's also going to show you a link to all of the other people that are employees of that company. So what I would do, let's say I was targeting Chrysler for a job move. I would look at Chrysler's page, I might click to see who those employees are, and then I might even go into an advanced search and find people who are current employees of Chrysler who are also OU grads, and then connect with them, mention that you're both fellow students or alumni of Oakland University, that you're considering Chrysler for your next job move, and then invite them to connect with you. So you could try those techniques. Connect with others who engage with their content, so as you're scrolling through, see who else is talking about them. Like attracts like. They may be other people who work in the industry, suppliers, vendors, you never know. So look and see what activity is happening, like and engage with their content as well. All right, and then this is an example of when I talked about engaging with rock stars. Is anybody following? His name is Oleg Vishnopolsky. Am I saying that right? Is anybody following Oleg on LinkedIn? Are you following him? And he does a really great job of always posting inspirational stories and inspirational statements and different types of things. And if you look at his profile, you're going to see under his articles and activities section, he has 1.5 million followers on LinkedIn. So he has a lot of people that are following his updates. If I look at a recent update that he posted, that one got 1,043 likes and 94 comments. So remember I said earlier, this is a numbers game. So if I'm interacting with people who have very small networks, the only other people who see that comment are people in my network or people in their network. If I'm interacting with him, he's got 1 million followers. So I just did this earlier today. He has this video of this shoelace, and it talks about thinking about things differently. And it's not lacing the shoelace that we all traditionally know. It's lacing it going up the sides, and there's some interaction with the loops at the top. So what I like to do is follow these rock stars, and then maybe once or twice a week, I will go out on their posts, and I will add a comment and I'll make it meaningful. I won't just say interesting or very inspirational. I'll try to put a comment that's meaty, something that is 5 or more words, that adds some conversation, that adds some context to what I'm seeing up on the screen. So what I said here is very true. Change your perspective and the possibilities are endless. Now I just posted this a little while ago, but I guarantee I'll go back on here later on today and I'll get a couple people who like it. Now that's a fishing net I put out. I will look and see who those people are that liked it because we have something in common. We both share that philosophy. Then I might connect with them on LinkedIn. Okay? Now this is just an example of somebody who has a very large network, but think about how you can apply this to your job, to your industry, to your career path. Find the person who has a very large following who works in engineering, because engineers attract like, right? They're going to attract fellow people. So find the person who's at the top of their industry and then give that technique a try. So I'm a little bit of a data junkie, and I have a friend, his name is John Asperian, I've never met him in person, he's out in the UK, but he does technical copywriting, and he will frequently share posts about LinkedIn. Is anybody connected with John here in the room? He's got a pretty big following too. So one of the techniques he was sharing is he tracks his stats for every single post, how many likes and comments and shares, and he tracks it over time in an Excel spreadsheet. And I want to work on growing my following and my presence on LinkedIn. So I put together this Excel spreadsheet and actually have, this is only a small portion of it, but I've got about 80 or so people that I'm tracking. It includes fellow LinkedIn coaches, it includes marketing consultants, and it includes people with really large networks. So over time, I'm tracking how many total followers they have, and then every week I go in and I see how many followers did they gain. And this is all a formula, so all I really put in is one number each week. But I'm tracking myself over time compared to these 80 other people. And last week I found that I had the highest percentage growth in my followers compared to my competition. I didn't have the highest number of followers. I mean, if you look at, let's see, Oleg is on here. So he went from 1.57 to 1.58. So he gained 10,000 more followers, but he only grew at 0.63%. I gained 196 followers and I grew at 1.84%. So this is just a bigger scale way of saying you can assess your performance against others in your industry as you're growing your LinkedIn network. And more importantly for me, this is my cheat sheet of LinkedIn rockstars. If I'm looking for the people with large networks, I have it all in one place, so I just bookmark and go back there and click on the hyperlinks. Okay? So again, bit of a data junkie, but it does help you to reach those networks and to reach new people pretty quickly. All right, I'm going backward. This is an example when I talk about casting a net. If you have a company page on LinkedIn, really cool technique here is that you can't see who the people are that are following your company page, but you can see them if they interact with your post. So if they like or they add a comment, then you can see who they are. And what I do is I look at these every time I post on my company page, and I look and see who's liked it and who's commented on it. And in this list, I see first next to every one of their names, so I'm already connected with them. But if I see a second or third, then I will reach out to them and connect. I won't say, hi Amanda, I saw that you liked my recent post on my LinkedIn company page. No, I use the same technique I talked about earlier. Hi, first name, have we met or not? If not, one or two things that we have in common, invite them to connect. Then afterwards, I might say, hey Amanda, I saw that you liked my recent video, or thanks for accepting my invite. I saw that you liked my recent video about XYZ event. Let me know if you're looking at hiring any LinkedIn trainers for your team. So then I follow up in the secondary note there, okay? So that's a technique, if anybody is managing a company page or helping your company with a page, something that you can use to build engagement there. So moving now into network engagement, personal brand building, whether you're here at Oakland University or beyond and throughout your career. So if you're in the desktop mode, you can follow along with me. If you're on your profile, go up to the very right-hand corner where it says Edit Public Profile and URL. If you're on your phone, there should be a little gear icon that's up in the upper right-hand corner, and you can check this out as well. You're not going to see everything that you see in desktop mode, but we can get pretty close here. So we're going to go into our publicity settings, and what I like to say is you want to maximize your visibility. You want to give the greatest amount of visibility on your LinkedIn profile. Blue shows us you. So look at all of your settings and make sure that the blue is set to the highest level of visibility. Make sure that this is turned on, so this says your public profile visibility. Scrolling down, the next thing I look for under your profile photo, look to see is it set to public. If it's set to your network or your connections only, if I'm not connected with you yet on LinkedIn, I can't see your profile photo. Some people will not accept invitations from new connections unless they can see your photo. And some of us just like, looking at a face. They know it's a real person, it's not a spam account or whatever. So make sure that is set. That will help you to get some of those invitations accepted. Underneath that, you're going to see a bunch of other blue buttons. Make sure those are all toggled open. Blue shows us you. That way, anybody can see your LinkedIn profile. Did you have a question?
Any sort of insight on why they default the picture to off? Because I never do that for the longest time until I realized, and I was like,
yeah.
why was this set?
I have no idea. And sometimes LinkedIn goes through user changes and things happen behind the scenes. I've had clients I work with and they set it up for maximum visibility, and then we look at this and everything is toggled off. And they had no idea. They didn't change the setting themselves either. So I don't know, other than it could have been a LinkedIn hiccup, something they did behind the scenes, and they accidentally tripped a piece of code that flipped your button off for some reason. Yeah. So on mobile, it's a little bit trickier, but if you click on the gear icon underneath settings, and I'm in the account area underneath settings where it says showing profile photos, make sure that says all LinkedIn members on there. Okay? All right, so it sounds like a couple of you may have found something in there that opened up your profile visibility. And the cool thing is here, now you can come up in more search results because your entire profile is skimmable, scannable. The keywords that you have written in your summary statement and your experience and your skills section, those are now searchable on LinkedIn. Whereas if you had all of these toggled to hide, the only people who can see them and search for them are your connections. Okay, so that'll help enhance your visibility a little bit there. All right, post a daily status update and stay top of mind. So if you're not already doing this, I highly recommend start getting in the habit of posting, I would say at minimum, post one status update once a week on LinkedIn. That's minimum. I mean, guys, easy thing to do. You're here today, take a picture of me presenting or something you see up on the screen and share that as a status update. That's an easy, quick thing to do. Don't make it difficult, make it really easy. What I like to do is try to tag people in your posts. You use the @ symbol and you can tag people and or organization. And then it's clickable when it's blue after you've posted. If you post it and it's not blue, you can just click on the 3 dots, edit the post, and then you can fix it and make sure it's clickable. Okay? Now, if you do take a picture of me and tag me, I will comment back. I will thank you for the post. I will ask people in my network to look at your profile and to consider sending you an invitation to connect. And I will say, tell them Brenda sent you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a jump start in people looking at your profile. Okay? So before I go on, I actually want to have Ben talking a little bit about his status update and a success story that he has. So do you want to jump in over there? Do you want me to toggle over for you?
Yeah. Okay, so what this is I'll title this thing, How I Got Viral on LinkedIn and Contacted by Tesla. So, while this loads, it wasn't necessarily, it was, so I was looking, like she was talking about interacting with rock stars and interacting with big names that'll give you attention. And this was about a month ago, and this is when Tesla and a bunch of recruiters were going around the country, going from university to university, and they were interacting a lot with the students. And obviously everyone wanted a job there, so they're getting 500 likes a post, 80 comments, and so Lane Austin, one of the girls I reached out to, and she posted like, here's what we're looking for in an intern. She's like, self-starters, this. And like I said, 500 likes, 80 comments. And I was like, well, I'm not just gonna comment, Tesla's not coming to Oakland, who am I just to comment, it's not gonna do anything. So what I did was, I made a little video of one of my projects, and I reached out to her and I said, like, as you'll see in a second, like I said, Lane, I heard you're looking for self-starters, and then here you go. And then I'll read the post when it comes. But also want to know, I did edit the post a little bit recently because I'm trying to keep, I felt weird. I have a couple projects directed toward Tesla. I tried to do this a couple times, and I decided to, for the sake of other recruiters, that if everything was directed towards Tesla, I felt that might be a little bit of a deterrent. But
do you want me to play the video?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, it's not.
No.
Should I try to unplug it and plug it back in?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like it doesn't read it unless you tell the cord reset. Does that work?
Yes, there we go.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, ready?
Here, wait, one second. Let me do the comment. So, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So another important thing about this is a lot of people, or at least me, when I first started with LinkedIn, I was like, this is just super professional. We got to walk between the lines, and I think this post will give you an idea of where you can kind of push the boundaries, and it's a little more lighthearted. So I said, like I said, I edited a little bit on top. Initially, I said, like Lane, I tagged her, like what she just talked about being blue, you know what I mean? But and that said, so what I said here was, I can literally turn on, this is a Arduino Ultimate Light Switch 2.0. It's like I can literally turn my lights off without even getting out of bed. You know what I mean? I got, and you know what I mean? So if I'm, you know what I mean, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, or it helps me get up in the morning. That's what I said. And then I also, this is where I'm talking about where you can like kind of push the boundaries. And my sisters were iffy. It's a little bit risque, let's say. But I said, I also must jokingly point out that I attached a so as you'll see in the video, there's 2 servo motors Velcro to my light switch in my bedroom. And it looks kind of dorky and nerdy. So I wrote, I also must jokingly point out that I attached those servo motors with Velcro so they could easily be attached and reattached. So if I had like a girl over or something hypothetically, I wouldn't scare her away with nerdiness. And like I said, my sisters were like, "Oh my God, don't post that!" But like, I could tell by how much attention like that the other Tesla recruiters were getting, and based off what their comments on their posts were, I could kind of gauge if that was appropriate. And it turned out it worked out. So if you want to play around.
Okay. Here we go.
So, one other thing I must know is I'm no master of editing videos. This is actually my first video I put on. But I mean, anyone can really do it. All I did was I uploaded it to YouTube, and I didn't know like, what kind of music to put over it. So it's just my heavy breathing originally. So YouTube has like, a couple songs on a nice little jazzy saxophone or whatever. But yeah, so overall, this hopefully gives you guys an example of different things you can try, and maybe to understand that maybe LinkedIn isn't, you don't have to be super ultra professional all the time. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Before I go back into the deck, I just want to point out his stats on here. He had 3,200 views of that video. That's huge. 3,200 views for, you said first time doing a video, Ben?
Yes.
I mean, that's great, right out the gate. And you had 38 likes and 2 comments. So like I said earlier, check your fishing nets. Make sure that everybody who's liked the post, that you have engaged with them. You know, what I would do is invite them to connect. You know, look at their profile, tell them things you have in common or whatever, and then invite them to connect. And then once they accept, say, hey, I saw that you liked my recent video. You know, if you have any pointers for me on future videos, let me know, or whatever. Get the conversation going there. And then the people that comment, I didn't see, but the people that commented, I always tell people comments are a gift. So if you post something and they give you a comment, what do we do when we get a gift? We give a thank you note, right? We acknowledge that. So acknowledge that in a comment back to them, and make sure those comments are always 5 or more words. Don't just say thank you very much, have a great week. It doesn't matter what they are, but that'll help to keep that post hanging out in the homepage feed a little bit longer. And one of the techniques I want to share with you guys next is, skip ahead here for a second. It's a technique that I use, and what I say is that if you post this way, you'll never post the same way ever again. So NEVA is an acronym that I use to help you remember this. The N stands for news. So think about a newspaper. The only person who's going to read that newspaper are the people that are interested in the stories that are in there. So you have to keep the reader in mind. Why do they care about what you're saying? Okay? People don't like to be sold to. They like stories, they like inspiration, they like expertise. They don't want to be sold to. So think about the news. What is it you're sharing, and why do they care? The E, whoops, let me go back here for a second. The E is engage. I want you to engage by tagging other people, other organizations, and or maybe using some hashtags. So that'll help to extend your reach a little bit. The V stands for visual. The visual could be a photo that you're taking. It could be a video that you're sharing. It could be an infographic, an inspirational quote, but some type of a visual. And the A is some type of a call to action. What do you want them to do next after reading the post? Do you want them to connect with you? Do you want them to add a comment below? Do you want them to visit a website to learn more about the School of Engineering? Whatever it is, keep that in mind. So I'm going to show you this technique right in place here. And what I do is every Tuesday I do a Take Action Tuesday post. Every Friday I do a Friday shout. So my Take Action Tuesday is always focused on helping people in career transition. And this is an example of a Friday shout where I kind of give a shout out to somebody in my network. And the news is I tell people this is the person I'm talking about in my Friday shout, and a little bit of the background of how I knew that person. I engage by tagging that person and sometimes their company as well. The visual, here I just did a screen capture of Steve's, the top of his header profile. And then the A, I say connect with Steve and tell him that I sent you. So that's my call to action. And this is just an example. I think this was after a day or so. I had 2,000 views of the post in the feed. And at the time I grabbed it, I think I had 30 likes and 12 comments. Now keep in mind that half of those comments were me replying back to people, but that's okay. LinkedIn kept that post in the homepage feed a little bit longer because of the nice level of engagement that we were seeing there. So I do have in this deck, I'm going to go back just for a second here, examples of other things that you can post as status updates. Every single day I don't do that NEVA technique. Sometimes I just post inspirational statements or marketing tips. But these are some really great examples of things you could use as a status update. When you're attending conferences and events, as a student, you're reading articles all the time. So look online, when you're reading those articles online, a lot of times the publications have a share link. Get in the habit of me tapping on the shoulder saying, you should share that on LinkedIn. Share it on LinkedIn and say, today I'm reading about XYZ in engineering news and it's talking about a trend in mechanical engineering, whatever. Share it as a status update. Just start getting in the habit of sharing your expertise, okay? And there's some other things up on here on the screen. Inspirational messages do really well. Oleg is a great example of that, but the Dale Carnegie and all the little Oprah-isms and things that we find, those do really well as status updates on LinkedIn. All right, so moving along here, brand ambassador, or if you want to think about making a move, but you don't want your company to know that you're making a move. These techniques work in both of those categories. So first, let's talk about if you want to be a good brand ambassador for your organization, you have to start by being active on LinkedIn. And I'm going to go back to this statement again. Spend 15 minutes a day on LinkedIn every single day. What I would do in that 15 minutes is I would spend that time on your homepage feed. Scrolling through, seeing what other people are talking about, adding some likes, maybe commenting on 2 posts, and how many words do we leave in our comments? 5 more words every single time. Don't just say great article. Say great article, Steve. Thank you for sharing your insights. It doesn't matter what the 5 more words are. Get in the habit of 5 or more words. And if there's something that really resonates with you, you could share it, and that counts as your status update for the day. But certainly liking and commenting, that's a good thing. Because what will happen over time is you're going to become one of those people that are familiar. You're building social media karma. You're paying it forward to your network all the time. And then when you post a status update, they're going to want to return the favor and engage with your post. And when you're engaging with them all the time, you're going to get their network looking at your profile. Their network sending you invitations to connect. So you're building your network the same way. So let's talk about those people that if you might be thinking about making a move and you don't want your employer to know. Once upon a time, I was in that boat myself, okay? So what I did, and this was years back when I first got on LinkedIn, what I did at the time is I disconnected from my managers, my direct manager, and I think the president of the company. They weren't the type of company I wanted to keep in my career over time, so I wasn't worried about losing them as connections. When you disconnect from somebody on LinkedIn, they don't get a notification. These people that I disconnected from weren't active on LinkedIn, so I wasn't worried about them noticing it. But I didn't want to stay in contact with them. So you can disconnect from them. Then started positioning myself as a brand advocate. If you didn't know I wasn't happy in my job, you would have thought I was the biggest cheerleader in the whole wide world. Because I was posting company page updates all the time. I was liking, I was commenting on things. I was adding value, I was adding commentary to it. I made myself look like a huge brand ambassador for the company. And guess what? My competition noticed. And they started saying, wow, you're doing a great job of promoting your company. Can you help us with that? And I said, absolutely. And then I made a move over here, okay? So it's a stealth way. It also throws your employer off of the chase because they don't know that you're not happy, and they don't know that you're looking because it looks like you're promoting the company. Looks good for you, looks good for the company. You can go stealth and not worry about what you're thinking, okay? Also, demonstrating your brand expertise. I was at the time working for an organization that was in the marketing services industry. I was really passionate about professional development. So I tried to blend those things, marketing services, professional development, and those were the types of things that I was sharing as status updates. So it looked like it was a little sideways from what I did with my job, but not sideways enough where they thought maybe she's jumping ship, okay? It was still in the lanes of marketing and my expertise. Building your network. So don't wait until you want to make a job change to get active on LinkedIn. That is one surefire signal. When I start to see people activity all of a sudden perking up on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, they're making a job move. As opposed to if they keep active all the time, you don't know when they're thinking about making a job move because they're just an active online networker. You have no clue that all of a sudden step up in activity signals a job search because there's no step up. It's consistent going throughout. Toggle open to new opportunities and be aloof, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Within the jobs area of LinkedIn, you can set your career interests to let people know that you're open to new opportunities. And when I say be aloof, what I do is I put a note to recruiters in here that would say something like, I'm not currently pursuing new opportunities, even though I am. I'm not right now, but in your case, you would say that. I'm not currently pursuing new opportunities, but I'm always open to conversations that align with my career interests, whatever. So it makes you sound like I'm not looking, I'm going to play hard to get here. I'm going to be a hard candidate to recruit and position yourself that way. So within the jobs area, if you're in your desktop, you can see this. If you click on jobs, click on career interests. And then when you go into this section, you're going to see there's this little button. And if you let recruiters know that you're open, if you toggle this to blue, what happens is the people that are using the paid version of LinkedIn recruiting, you now go into a different category of people. You kind of come up to the top of the list, the cream of the crop, so to speak. You go into a category that says open to new opportunities. So when they're doing searches for engineering students or engineers or whatever the words are, there's one bucket that says open to new opportunities. There's a second bucket that says matched our keywords and phrases. There's a whole lot of people in that bucket. And then the third one is they have some type of engagement with our company. So the open to new opportunities, they want to go for you first because you're more likely to make a move. You're going to be easier to convince to come into this position than everybody else who's matching their keywords who might be happy in their jobs. Okay, so here's my little aloof. I'm not currently open to opportunities. This is what I have in mind right now. I'm not currently open to opportunities, but I have a large network and I can provide referrals. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and I can be a resource for you. So I have this on my profile. If I come up in searches, a recruiter would see this. Do keep in mind that LinkedIn says we take steps not to show your current company, but they cannot guarantee complete privacy. What they mean by that is, let's say I work for Oakland University and I have this toggle to open. Anybody who works in the HR recruiting department here would not be able to see me. But let's say Oakland University outsources recruiting to Kelly Services. Kelly Services can see me. And then my Oakland University manager might say, is there anybody at Oakland University who's open to new opportunities? And they might say, well, Brenda Meller shows that she's open. And I might go, really? Well, that's interesting. So think about that. Can't guarantee complete privacy, and that's why I always like to be a little bit aloof. Even if you are actively in job search mode, I'm not currently pursuing new opportunities, but I'm always open to conversations. So it kind of says, hey, I'm managing my career, I'm in charge of my career. Okay, is there a hand?
So sometimes I don't update my profile or checking my settings. I notice that a lot of people have all the time I'm constantly turning it on.
They do have it set. Once upon a time, I think it was like every 30 days, and then they went to 45 days. I went into mine today, I thought it was turned on, and it was turned back off again. So what I would say is like once a month, just go in there and make sure it's still toggled open.
It doesn't have anything to do with like being public or private.
No, this is separate from the public private setting. Good question, no. But LinkedIn, like I said earlier, they're changing it all the time. Once upon a time, it was once it's open, it stays open until you close it, but they have since changed that feature. So I think we're getting almost to the end here. We've got maybe another 5 minutes and we'll wrap up. Okay, so quickly to finish off, a quick conversation here about status updates versus articles on LinkedIn. Is anybody blogging on LinkedIn here in the room? Yeah? Not you? No? Okay, maybe. Anybody like to write? Your ideas? Okay, so maybe you could be a blogger on LinkedIn too. So I'm going to just show you a quick comparison of posts versus blogs. Posts are kind of the same thing as a status update. Ideally, post them once a day. You share insights, observations, short bits of experience, expertise rather. They go on your profile, but they get buried pretty quickly. The character limits are there. Blogs are longer. What I recommend is they go about monthly, not as frequent. They're longer explanations. There's no limit on the characters, they say, but you don't want to go too long. I recommend 300 to 1,200 words. And then I like to do some free samples of what I do, the expertise I have, with some calls to action. So just looking on my profile, you can see under my articles and activities section, I said blogs sit there until the next one posts. And your latest blog will always sit in this left position. It will never move. So there's high visibility for this. until I post something on top of it. Your status updates go into this other right section here, and they get buried pretty quickly. So you don't see them unless you're digging through the person's profile. So that's kind of your quick tip there on blogs versus status update. Did you have a question?
We have a School of Engineering, Computer Science, Career Services LinkedIn group
Okay.
that we post in, and students, can look in there.
Students will look. Okay, very cool. All right, and then that's all I have. What I'm going to share with you guys just to end here, this is in my slides, so I do have some profile optimization techniques. I have my suggested profile checklist of things I recommend you have in your profile. I'm not going to go through everything here, but it is in the slide. If you would like to get a copy of this, just message me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share that with you. And then I do have homework. Feel free to take a picture of this. If you complete this homework and you message me on LinkedIn, I will do a complimentary once over on your profile, and I'll give you some pointers. Okay, I'd be happy to look at that for you. And just do the homework. I'm not going to check your homework. I'm not going to grade it or anything. I'll take your word for it. But I will say, did you do your homework? You did everything on the list. And if I happen to look and everything's not done, if I can look at your profile and say, well, you haven't posted a status update this week. Are you sure you did all your homework? So I'll nudge you a little bit there. But I do want to encourage you to use the techniques that I put into place here today. Pie tin, is it still floating around the room? In the back of the room? Okay, must be present to win. So Ben, you're going to help me out with this, right? Because then I don't get nabbed for you picked your friend or whatnot. Now, the ladies that attended this morning, you didn't win the pie, did you?
No.
Okay, all right. Just one pie per day should be a new. And this is just for the...
Cody Bay.
Cody, are you still here? All right, Cody, you got a pie. There you go, get a nice little cherry pie, and you can share it or keep it for yourself. Guys, I'm going to stick around afterwards, and I don't know if we want to keep it open to Q&A and keep it going right now, or if you want me to stop and let the students get back.
That's really based on your availability.
I'm fine to keep going and take it for Q&A. If anybody does need to get to class, just message me on LinkedIn. I'll give you a copy of the slide deck, and I look forward to staying in contact with you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But yes, questions.
Any questions? We went through things kind of quick here today. Yes.
So, it is a common thing where you're not supposed to put like your resume like verbatim on like under
your experience section.
Yeah. So are you supposed to like write like a more of a distributable type of thing, or pointing out?
It's a blend. I mean, what I like to do with your experience section is I like to start off with 1 to 2 sentence description of your employer, and then maybe a list of products and services. So you're being a good brand ambassador. You're helping to promote the company, and then list a few of your key achievements or a description of your position in the role. And then you can add some additional summary or media or other things in there too. But it should be a little different than your resume. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Where do you find the social selling index?
You can just Google social selling index.
Okay, and then it'll give you
You could also, I
instructions.
have my mellermarketing.com/my LinkedIn SSI. I have it hyperlinked to make it faster to get to. But you could just as easily Google social selling index, LinkedIn social selling index. It'll take you there.
Okay.
Yes.
I know it has a lot of room to add that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
For skills, like
Skills.
within our profile.
Yeah.
Is there generally like a good idea of what we should include for
Yes.
skills?
Excellent question. Let me actually go back to that slide here just for a second. Because what I'd like to tell people is in the skills section, you can actually fill out 50. And I like to optimize my profile. And what that means is fill out every area of your profile. But really more important is you have 50. But you'll remember this if I say this. People are lazy. I don't think people are lazy, but it's going to help you to remember this. Most people are not going to click on show more. Most people are only going to see what are the top 3 skills that you have on your profile. So look at those 3 skills and think, are those the 3 things I want to be known for, my top skills? If not, you can either click on the pencil icon and move things around, or you can add new skills. So look at the top 3. What LinkedIn does is it'll organize those based on how many times you've been endorsed for those skills. But you can see even on mine, I had public speaking, I had a lot. Social selling I recently added, and I've only got 22 endorsements. I don't worry as much about the number of endorsements. I'm more concerned with what are the top 3 that are showing in my profile and the fact that I have all 50 filled out. If you struggle with coming up with 50, what I would recommend is look at people who hold your targeted job title or your current job title and look at their skills list. And I guarantee you'll find easily 10, 20 additional skills that you can add to your profile. A little bit of a cheat.
Great idea. I love that.
Yeah? Yes?
Oh, okay. When somebody is job searching and they submit an application, what do you think it looks like to an employer when they see that you went and liked the company's page and then you started liking their posts or commenting on their posts? Do you think it looks like you're taking initiative, or do you think it looks like
Absolutely. You're talking about the employer that you're applying with?
Or does it look like you're just doing that because you have an application with them?
I would say you're overthinking it, first of all. I don't think most employers are going to sit down. I mean, most employers, when they have an applicant for a job, they're running a million miles a minute, and they're just focused on the job itself, and they're looking at maybe 10 different applicants, and they've got a million other balls that they're juggling at the same time. So they're not looking as closely as you and I are thinking about this right now. A lot of times, the HR and recruiting department is different than the hiring manager, so they're not even comparing notes across the board. But let's say they know that you're a serious candidate, they're seriously looking at you, and they look at your profile and they go, wow, she's interacting a lot with our company page. She's really into us. That's a good thing. I think that's a positive thing. Okay? Yeah. I think for the most part, I get a lot of those questions too. What will they think? And if they see me doing this, I'm like, we're overthinking it. Most people just don't spend that time going to that level. But if they do, I mean, I would be flattered. Wow, she's really spending the time investing in researching my company. And it's, I would look at it as face value. That's genuine. You've made the effort to go on and like and add comments. That's a good thing. Right. Okay. Yeah, good question though. Yeah. Yes.
How quickly should you be, I guess, updating like your school or skills or things like that? Because I know that for a resume you need to keep it within one page. If you get, let's say, a new internship, you're probably going to bump off another one type thing to get it to fit. LinkedIn, do you recommend just keeping it recent, or do you recommend keeping a longer history of stuff on
I don't worry about the length of LinkedIn because it's a lot of things are collapsing and expanding based on people looking at your profile. What I do try to focus on though is identifying really what are your goals with using LinkedIn. If it's to gain an entry-level position in an engineering firm at a Fortune 500, I mean, think about all the things that you need to have on your profile to make you razor-sharp focused. I've heard this expression, which helps a sculptor, or a sculpture itself, I should say, is as much about what the artist takes off as what they leave in. So I see some people, especially with resumes, they throw everything in there with the hope that something will stick, and then it gets so cluttered you don't know what to focus on. And I would say the same thing on your LinkedIn. You shouldn't cater it to every single audience. You should cater it to the audience you are targeting. Try to make it really focused on that audience. Okay?
Kind of question building off that. If you had experience that isn't in your field of your wanted field, outside job experience, would that be a good idea to include that?
So what I would say is, especially for college students, you may not yet have professional experience. I mean, when I was in college, I worked at Big Boys. And back in the day, LinkedIn didn't exist. But if it did, I would have put Big Boys on there and server. And then I would have done the same technique, started with a 1 to 2 sentence description of the company. And it would have said, as a server, and then think about all the skills that are transferable into my next job. As a server, I had great experience working with customers, operating the cash register, working with a team of people. All these things that demonstrate I'm responsible. I know how to work with people. I know how to communicate well. And then after I get my first job out of college and it's in the field, then maybe I drop Big Boys off of there and move things on from there. But certainly even for professionals, we might take a sideways tour out of our career and go into, going from medical to marketing, and you don't want to show the gap on there, but you might want to tell a little bit of the story once you transition into the new job. I moved into marketing because I found it was my real passion, and I was able to use some of my knowledge of medical, so now I can be a marketer working for a hospital. So think about how you can kind of swing that. All right. Yep.
I agree with you as a executive level, president's level.
Sure.
Here. So part of my profile goes on and on about that kind of thing. Okay. But on the side, I also work for a charity where we service dogs.
Oh, great.
Okay. And I would like to promote that, but also it goes with the executive assistant to and such. How do you put both on one with one's vastly different than I still want to.
You could still put both of them in your experience sections, and even with the volunteer, you could still put that in your experience because it's pro bono experience. So if you wanted to give them some additional visibility, you could move them up to the top and not just leave them down in the bottom in your experience section. And what you could do is an occasional status update about that nonprofit organization, and most of the time you're focusing more on the industry or day job too, so you can kind of blend that. I don't think there's a 100% right answer to that question. I think, yeah, it's a little bit, but we are all dynamic people. We have different interests and backgrounds, and I'm not always sharing everything about marketing and social media. Sometimes I'm sharing things about membership organizations that I'm a part of and groups that I help in different ways. And it kind of shows I'm multifaceted. I have a lot of different interests and support a lot of different organizations. What I would say is every now and again give them some love, put them as a feature in a status update, tag the organization that helps to give them some visibility. And you can even preface it by saying, you may not be aware, but I am involved with the XYZ organization, which, kind of describe what it does. And recently we held an event, and here's what we did, and I'm so proud to be a part of the group. If you'd like to learn more, visit their website and you can redirect them that way. So,
on a different one, School of Engineering's link, which is
the page?
Yes,
okay.
It needs a lot of work because the person who was in charge of it left, and so all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm really taking a look.
Yeah, look at it. Yeah.
Everything else I'm doing.
Okay.
So how do you rank all the things that it's accomplished when it's actually a school?
You could still use the About section of the company page with some highlights, key achievements, milestones, things like that. You could also post status updates from your company page. Like you could do a Did You Know? Did you know today we reached a milestone? Or, we're celebrating our 10th year of this, or we're working with so many employers in the area. So you can use the employer account to post status updates, and then you could share them out onto your profile. So you can kind of add your message there. Okay? Good. All right, is that it? All right, guys, thanks. I'm going to turn off my Facebook so we can keep hanging out here a little longer. Thanks for watching.